This episode on NFL Talk, we're going to take a look at the Week 3 scores and stats. First up, we have the Thursday night game, the Rams versus the 49ers. The Rams get the win 41-39. Jared Goff was 22 of 28, 292 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Gurley added 113 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. The 49ers' Hoyer was 23 of 37 for 332 yards passing and 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Hyde added 84 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Next up, we have the Ravens versus the Jags. This game was played in London. The Jaguars got the win 44-7. Joe Flacco was 8 of 18 for 28 yards passing and 2 interceptions. Collins added 82 yards rushing. For the Jags, Blake Bortles was 20 of 31, 224 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. Fournette added 17 rushing attempts, 59 yards and 1 touchdown. Next up, we have the Broncos versus the Bills. The Bills get the win 26-16. The Broncos' Simon was 24 of 40 for 259 yards passing, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Charles added 9 rushing attempts for 56 yards and 1 touchdown. The Bills' Tyrod Taylor was 20 of 26 for 213 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. McCoy added 14 rushing attempts for 21 yards. Next up, we'll have the Steelers versus the Bears. The Bears get the win in this one, 23-17. The Steelers' Ben Roethlisberger was 22 of 39 for 235 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. Bell added 15 rushing attempts for 61 yards and 1 touchdown. Brown had 10 catches for 110 yards and 1 touchdown. The Bears' Mike Glennon was 15 of 22 for 101 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Howard also had 23 rushing attempts for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns. Next up, we have the Saints versus the Panthers. The Saints get the win 34-13. The Saints' Breeze was 22 of 29 for 220 yards and 3 touchdowns. Adrian Peterson added 9 rushing attempts for 33 yards and 0 touchdowns. Cam Newton was 17 of 26, 167 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 huge interceptions. Newton also had 3 rushing attempts for 16 yards and 1 touchdown. Next up, we have the Bucks versus the Vikings. The Vikings get the win 34-17. The Bucks' Jameis Winston was 28 of 40, 328 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. For the Vikings, Keenum was 25 of 33, 369 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Cook added 27 rushing attempts, 97 yards, and 1 touchdown. Next up, we have the Browns versus the Colts. The Colts get the win 31-28. The Browns' Kaiser was 22 of 47 for 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Crowell added 12 rushing attempts for 44 yards. The Colts' Brissett was 17 of 24 for 259 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. T.Y. Hilton added 7 receptions for 153 yards and 1 touchdown reception. Next up, we have the Dolphins versus the Jets. The Jets get the win 20-6. The Dolphins' Jay Cutler was 26 of 44 for 220 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Parker added 8 receptions for 76 yards and 1 touchdown. Ajayi had 11 carries for 16 yards. The Jets' McCowan was 18 of 23 for 249 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. Powell added 15 rushing attempts for 37 yards and 1 TD. Anderson had 3 receptions for 95 yards, and 1 touchdown reception. Next up, we have the Texans versus the Patriots. Patriots get the win 36-33. The Texans, Watson was 22 of 33 for 301 yards, 2 TDs and 2 interceptions. Hopkins added 7 receptions for 76 yards. On the defensive side, Clowney had 6 tackles and 2 sacks. The Patriots' Tom Brady was 25 of 35 for 378 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Cook added 5 receptions for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. Gronk had 8 receptions, 89 yards, and 1 touchdown. Next up, we have the Falcons versus the Lions. The Falcons get the win 30-26. The Falcons' Matt Ryan was 24 of 35 for 294 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Freeman rushed for 106 yards and 1 touchdown. Jones added 7 receptions for 91 yards. The Lions' Matt Stafford was 25 of 45 for 264 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 picks. Tate added 7 receptions, 58 yards, and 1 TD reception. Next up, we have the New York Giants versus the Eagles. In this one, the Eagles get the win 27-24. The Giants' Eli Manning was 35 of 47 for 366 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Odell Beckham Jr. had 9 receptions, 79 yards, and 2 touchdown receptions. Sterling Shepard also had 7 receptions, 133 yards, and 1 touchdown. The Eagles' Wentz was 21 of 31, 176 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. Blunt had 12 rushing attempts for 67 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. Ertz added 8 receptions, 55 yards, and 1 touchdown. Next up, we have the Seahawks versus the Titans. The Titans get the win 33-27. The Seahawks' Russell Wilson was 29 of 49 for 373 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Baldwin had 10 catches, 105 yards, and 1 touchdown. The Titans' Mariota was 20 of 32 for 225 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Murray added 14 rushing attempts, 115 yards rushing, and 1 rushing touchdown. Matthews had 6 receptions, 87 yards, and 1 touchdown. Next up, we have the Chiefs versus the Chargers. Chiefs get the win 24-10. The Chiefs' Smith was 16 of 21, 155 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Hunt had 17 rushing attempts, 172 yards rushing, and 1 rushing touchdown. The Chargers' Rivers was 20 of 40, 237 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Gordon had 17 rushing attempts, 79 yards rushing, and 1 touchdown. Benjamin added 5 receptions for 105 yards. Next up, we have the Bengals versus the Packers. The Packers get the win 27-24. The Bengals' Dalton was 21 of 27 for 212 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Green added 10 receptions, 111 yards receiving, and 1 touchdown. The Packers' Aaron Rodgers was 28 of 42 for 313 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Allison had 6 receptions, 122 yards. Jordy Nelson had 6 receptions, 52 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Next up, we have the Raiders versus the Redskins. The Redskins get the win 27-10. The Raiders' Derek Carr was 19 of 31, 118 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Marshawn Lynch had 6 rushing attempts for 18 yards. Cook had 4 receptions for 43 yards and 1 touchdown. The Redskins' cousin was 25 of 30 for 365 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Thompson had 6 receptions for 150 yards and 1 touchdown. Davis added 5 receptions for 58 yards and 1 touchdown. Next up, we have the Monday Night Football game. The Dallas Cowboys versus the Cardinals. Cowboys get the win 28-17. The Cowboys' Dak Prescott was 13 of 18 for 183 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott rushed 22 attempts for 80 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. The Cardinals' Palmer was 29 of 48 for 325 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Larry Fitzgerald had 13 receptions for 149 yards receiving and 1 touchdown. Thanks for watching NFL Talk Week 3 results. And don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe.